Hello, and welcome back, everybody. Happy Thursday. Tonight, we are talking and starting our first series here. It's going to be a three-part series. The first episode tonight is going to be the hidden pyramids of North America. Tonight, we'll officially kick off the first part of three episode series here. Over the next three episodes, we're going to be exploring one of the most widespread and mysterious patterns on this planet. The fact that pyramid structures keep appearing on every continent, often hidden, buried, covered in dirt, or locked away from public investigation. In part one tonight, we're staying right here in North America. We're going to look at some of the strangest pyramids stories this continent has to offer, from the infamous 1909 Grand Canyon underground city discovery to Tum Tum Mountain in Washington that looks way too perfect to be natural, to the legendary Dark Pyramid of Alaska that the military supposedly has locked down. We'll also take a look, if you guys didn't catch my show yesterday, my interview with JT, or Tuesday, I should say. We'll also catch a little segment of a pyramid in Sedona, Arizona. Uh, and of course, we'll be taking your questions and calls as well. So, the second part of the show's series here will continue exploring North America and also dive into the underwater pyramid claims in the Bahamas and Cuba, plus some very strange reports of the pyramids coming out of Antarctica. And then our third part of this series, we're going international. We're going to check places like Bosnia, China, Russia, France, and much more. And the rest of the world, like covering a little bit more in Antarctica as well. And we'll try to answer the big question: what does the global pyramids template actually mean? This is just the beginning, and it gets weird immediately. So let's get into it, folks. So I just wanted to take a moment personally here first before we dive too much into it, and just thank all your guys' um, kind thoughts, reaching out, your prayers, and your well wishes when I took a break last week. Everything is fine. Everybody is back home. Everything's going back to normal and whatnot. I appreciate the all of you guys that reached out. You guys, it means a lot to me here. You guys are some of the best subscribers a channel could ask for. So, the first segment we'll talk about, we had a episode dedicated a little bit to the Grand Canyon, but I figured talking about all of these pyramids across America, we'll jump in a little bit to the Grand Canyon again, to the Kincaid studies. Here's one of the maps I found online for you guys, just to see kind of how much pyramids there are just mapped independently over the years across just America alone. I'm not talking about the rest of North America or South America or anything like that, but there are thousands of mound sites intentionally, like hundreds of them in Ohio, were intentionally destroyed. And up and down the Mississippi River Valley as well. I believe those mounds were perhaps pyramid sites, a lot of them. They were massive, and they left them either covered up, hidden, buried, or they intentionally demolished them. I know in Ohio alone, you have like the Serpent Mound. You have, yes, I can. I'll share this map on Discord, guys, as well as my Telegram. M was asking for it. Yeah, we'll have that on there as well. But this is just a small portion. There are so many more pyramid sites out there throughout America that I kind of want to just cover a few of them in this three-part series. And really, even spending 2 nights, 2 episodes on America, we're not even going to scratch the surface of all the ones that are out there. I'd also like to hear you guys, anyone across the states or Canada. Do you guys have any pyramids nearby your residence? Tomorrow we'll have a little bit of an open line segment as well as part 2. So, any ones you guys want to share, just drop them in the chat, drop them in the Discord, and we can chat about them. So, in 1909, the Arizona Gazette published what may be one of the most explosive stories in American history. A man named G.E. Kincaid claimed he discovered a massive underground Egyptian style city while exploring a cave in the Grand Canyon. Here is a picture of the original article. This is one of the most trusted and longest publications in the state of Arizona. And the official narrative, the Smithsonian worked very hard to discredit this as no more than a sensationalist piece. But you don't become one of the most renowned publications in the American Southwest, one of the longest running publications in the Southwest, with posting several these there was multiple stories. And I'm going to take a moment because it's kind of hard to read. I can post this on my Discord and Telegram as well for you guys. But I have the article printed off as well. I'm going to take a moment to just read it for you guys, just so you can see exactly what they claimed they found underneath the Grand Canyon. And since the publication of this article, the area in question has been significantly locked down. Nephilim Hunter, you said check out the Pikeville Pyramid in Pikeville, Kentucky. Not super far from that. I will. I'll check that out, Nephilim. Thanks for the tips. Niagara Falls. I don't know why I said Grand Canyon. Yeah, Niagara Falls. There's pyramids there? Yeah, definitely a lot of pyramids around there. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. A lot of the ones they say they're just like from some primitive mound building site people. Uh, but you look at like places like Serpent Mound in Ohio. Me and Nephilim were talking a little bit about that before the show, and that was not made by a primitive people's hand. But anyways, here let me read this article out to you guys. You can also find a copy of this on my Telegram and Discord after the show. So this was published in the Arizona Gazette on April 5th, 1909, titled Explorations in Grand Canyon, Mysteries of Immense Rich Cavern Being Brought to Life. Jordan is enthused. Remarkable finds indicate ancient people migrated from Orient. The latest news of the progress of the explorations of what is now regarded by scientists as not only the oldest archaeological discovery in the United States, but one of the most valuable in the world, which was mentioned some time ago in the Gazette, was brought to the city yesterday by G.E. Kincaid, the explorer who found the great underground citadel of the Grand Canyon during a trip from Green River, Wyoming, down the Colorado in a wooden boat to Yuma several months ago. According to the story relayed to the Gazette by Mr. Kincaid, the archaeologist of the Smithsonian Institute, which is financing the expeditions, have made discoveries which almost conclusively prove that the race which inhabited this mysterious cavern, hewn in solid rock by human hands, was one of Oriental origin, possibly from Egypt, tracing back to Ramses. If their theory are borne out by the translation of the tablets engraved in the hieroglyphics with mystery of prehistoric people of North America, their ancient arts, who they were, and whence they came, will be solved. Egypt and the Nile, and the Arizona and the Colorado will be linked by a historical chain running back to ages, which staggers in the wildest fancy of the fictionist. A thorough examination will be made in the Smithsonian Institute will send a large party of archaeologists to the scene to make further explorations. The entrance to the cavern is about 1,486 feet down the sheer canyon wall from the surface. It is in Marble Canyon region, and the entrance is hidden behind a large rock fall. The main passage is about 100 feet long and leads to a series of chambers. The first chamber is about 40 feet wide and 60 feet high. There are many smaller chambers and passages branching off. The rooms are filled with artifacts, including copper weapons, statues, and tablets covered in hieroglyphics. There are also rows of mummies, some of which appear to be of royal lineage. The discoveries believe the people who lived here came from Egypt or the Orient thousands of years ago. Okay, so that is one of the articles. There's a second one out there. I won't bore you with that one. I'll post that one as well on my Telegram. That goes into a little bit more further detail and then discusses how if any onlookers or looky loos were wanting to go and poke around the area, they have already sealed it off federally, and it has been ever since. The area in question, some photos of it, cavern in there. The areas in question of the Grand Canyon, here's a one photo of it, the Isis Temple. Looks very much like a melted column, melted pyramid structure right here. Especially the top. It looks just like that black pyramid in Egypt. That looks very melted. There's pyramids everywhere. I'm kind of going through a little bit of this here. This is the area, the Shiva temple, the Isis temple, the Chopes pyramid, and all of them, of course, are under heavy no drone flying areas, meaning there's a no fly zone for drones. You can 99% of the Grand Canyon is also off limits for like any commercial aviation or recreational aviation. You cannot fly anywhere over the canyon except for a very narrow strip. All of the caves have been off limits for quite some time. Since 2020, the last few remaining caves have been completely sealed off. Most of the trails, there's only a very few select areas that you can actually poke around in the Grand Canyon. And any other like trails or stuff, you have to have a special permit for a special um, trail pass, and they're not handed out at random. There are very few of them handed out a year. They say to, protect wildlife and stuff like that. Same reason why they seal off all of these caves, and they've went to great lengths to seal off these supposed caves as well, folks. Talking round the clock patrols. People say when they get close to the Isis Temple region, the area where Kincaid made all of these discoveries, they are met with black helicopters flying very low. They are met with surveillance planes flying overhead. And of course, they're in a no fly zone. It's not just the NPS, the National Park Service, that patrols there. The feds supposedly have many agencies, many alphabet letter agencies patrolling that area, including ties to NASA as well, patrolling in that area. Jake, after those recent fires, they have closed even more of the trails. That's great point, Nephilim Hunter. Yeah, there was recent fires in the Grand Canyon. I think it was sometime last year. One of those supposed wildfires that just set blaze to the whole area out of nowhere. And yeah, so much of the Grand Canyon, I know. Hang on, let me turn the slide off, folks. Getting a little bit of a glare on my side. So since that fire last year, I believe it was, most of the trails in that area have been permanently closed. So yeah, great point, Nephilim. Thanks for bringing that up. So according to the article, Kincaid said he was working for the Smithsonian Institution. They allegedly sent a man named Professor S.A. Jordan to examine the site from the Smithsonian. The story described enormous rooms, artifacts, mummies, hieroglyphics, and even pyramids inside these caves. The entrance was reportedly, like I said, about 1,500 feet down through the cave system. Uh, and the Smithsonian has always officially denied, as they have the same with all the giant remains that's been documented sent to them. They officially denied that Kincaid or Jordan ever worked for them. They say the whole thing was a hoax, but I am not too sure. The hoax word is used to dismiss a lot of this stuff, right? Let me show you another picture. Though these three pyramid sites, also, much like the pyramids in Egypt, the pyramids in Mexico, all align perfectly to Orion. The monument of the Grand Canyons align with the Hunter constellation Orion and Pleiades. And you can see these are some of the monument sites, all named Egyptian names, and they're the same alignment as the pyramids in Egypt, the same alignment as the pyramids in Bosnia, the same alignment of many of these pyramid sites, that a lot of them stay hidden and buried deliberately. The story ties directly this whole Grand Canyon cover up with John Wesley Powell, the man who first explored the Grand Canyon. And I believe personally, this man was behind a lot of the initial cover ups of the old world sites in North America. If you remember my conversation I had with Tim Constantine, we talked a little bit about all of those dams, right? Covering up ancient cities throughout North America. And a lot of these dams were established and set up and created by none other than John Wesley Powell. There's Powell Lake, there's some dams named after him. I think dams named after one of his cousins. Um, this guy was, I believe, one of the parasites, one of the controllers, whatever you want to call him. He was one of the instrumental pieces in covering up a lot of our true history. That's this man right here, John Wesley Powell. So, even more interesting than that here. So, this man first explored the Grand Canyon, later ran the USGS. And if you remember from my conversation with Tim, the USGS was behind a lot of those dam projects in the early 1900s. And the Smithsonian Bureau of Ethnology. So he was one of the top dogs in the Smithsonian as well. Powell was deeply involved in mapping the exact region where this discovery was supposedly made. These same areas he explored eventually got flooded by massive dam projects like Lake Powell. Even more interesting is the location itself. The area around Isis Temple is heavily restricted today, as I've said. There are no fly zones, limited access permits. And again, this is the area where reports of black helicopters and heavy security presence occur. Many of the caves inside canyons in that region are permanently closed to the public. They have either caved them in, cemented off the main entrances, or put massive bars on the entrance of the caves. And all of them are heavily monitored with drones and all of that, but you can't fly your drone there. How does flat Earth explain all the astrological alignments throughout ancient sites and temples? That's a good question. I'm not, I don't claim to be a flat earther. I'm open to the concept. I've, talked about a lot of flat earthers. I've had Flat Earth Dave on the platform quite a few times. But, it's interesting though that these same star alignments are these, same stars that we see in the sky today, right? They haven't changed despite us, going thousands of miles around the sun, and the sun, orbiting the whole galaxy itself, they say. I don't believe it's a spinning ball like NASA tells us. There's a lot of questions I have about the make, the shape, and nature of our realm, but I won't rule flat out Earth out. I won't rule out anything except what NASA tells us and what we've been told to think. Because mostly everything, much like our history is a lie, so too what they tell us about everything, what they've taught us about everything. The news is a lie. The, you know, it's all just a propaganda game, propaganda for your mind. And it started since grade school, folks. Even before that, I mean, just watch some of the kids' shows. I watch some of the kids' shows, having two little ones myself, and you got to really be selective with what they watch these days. I tell you, like Peppa Pig, Peppa Pig is not good for kids. She's a rude little pig, mean to that little brother George of hers, and I mean, it's just some of the shows, like some of the values they teach, especially the shows coming out today. Like I said, it's just careful what you have your kids watch. So, like I said, this whole area heavily restricted. Let me see if I can pull back up. This is Powell with his Indian guide, first explorer of the Grand Canyon. And like I said, they have went through great lengths to keep the area hidden ever since Powell's discovery and Kincaid's initial discovery that they have worked hard to try and dismiss as nothing more than a hoax. So, alternate researchers also point out that the Isis temple, the Chope's pyramid, and the Tower of Set, as you can see here on this overview map, the Tower of Set, sorry, just lost my place on my notes, form a near perfect mirror of Orion's belt. Like I told you, the exact same astronomical alignment found at Giza in Egypt, Mexico, and the Bosnian pyramids, just to name a few. So we have a major newspaper story in 1909, a direct link to the Smithsonian and Powell, modern day restrictions around the exact site mentioned, and an Orion alignment that matches other pyramid sites worldwide. There is definitely something to this Grand Canyon area. Not even going into potential talks of, star portal or stargates, the Hopis, all the sky people talks of their legend that's passed down, and just all the other strange anomalies that happen in the American Southwest, right? One of them we talked about in my last episode with JT about his trip to Sedona, Arizona, and the Pyramid Trail that he took a video on. You've seen also Cathedral Rock, a lot of those sites that look very, very much like melted old world ruins, right? Let me pull up a segment from that last episode, kind of showing you that pyramid on Pyramid Trail. And before I do that, I just think it's funny digging into all of these sites, how many sites we have in America called Pyramid Trail, Pyramid Point, Pyramid Peak, Pyramid, so many like mountains and cliffs are called pyramids all across America for a reason because they were. It's right in our face and it's obvious. So let me see here. And while I am pulling this up, folks, make sure if you like this video, just hit a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. All right. Let me pull up. It's a couple minute segment I clipped. I'll just kind of speed through it here so you can see the pyramid. There, I really want to have you guys see that if you haven't seen it already. Bear with me. Okay. I'm not hearing any sound on this. Oh, wait, here we go.
You know,
Walk us through your recent trip to Montezuma Castle. Uh,
Typically, there's
okay,
called
I'm gonna. Here is the
Sedona.
Cathedral
You have
Rock.
Bell Rock, which we visited this past
This one
time.
was really
Cathedral Rock. There's another place called Courthouse.
very awesome.
There's one called the Pyramid, and I think you guys
And here is where we get to the pyramid
I
here.
did not even believe my eyes when I saw this from the distance. Check this out.
Oh wow. Oh wow. 100% pyramid.
I mean, it's
Wow.
that again, this was my first time to Sedona, so I didn't even know that there was a pyramid trail. We were just looking off into kind of where the main kind of big tourist area was, like a Cathedral
Hmm.
Rock, Bell Rock, and some of these other hiking trails. And that one I was just like, that's a
Yeah, that is
pyramid.
wow.
That's a
That is a
pyramid.
beautiful pyramid one. Yeah, I have an upcoming pyramid episode here. We're going to do actually. It's a three-part series. We're going to start next this Thursday actually. So next episode, guys. Um, okay, okay. So yeah, that was Pyramid Trail in Sedona, Arizona. 100% looks like a pyramid to me. Um, definitely, definitely. Another one that I came across, I believe it was last year or the year before. I just found a random ad come across my For You page on TikTok of like some ranch in Washington. And I looked in the background of the ranch, and sure as heck, it was like just the most obvious, almost as obvious, if not more so, than that pyramid that JT shared with us in the last episode. Just waiting for that to pull up here. I'm talking about Tum Tum Mountain in Washington, in Clark County, Washington. While I wait for it to pull up, by the way. So this is what they call a ancient volcanic cone mountain in Tum Tum, near I believe Battle Creek in Washington. If anybody's listening from Washington, let me know if I'm right there. But here is Tum Tum Mountain. Uh, this mountain rises almost perfectly symmetrical out of relatively flat land in the area around it. From certain angles, it looks exactly like a giant buried pyramid that's been partially covered with dirt and vegetation. The symmetry is so clean that many people immediately see it as artificial. Here's some more photos of it as well. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, nature does not make straight lines this pronounced. And there's, if you look at it on Google Maps and Google Earth as well, you can see even looking from above, you can see the clear angles of a pyramid. It looks almost identical to any other pyramid that's not been buried and left in the landscape. So it sits in a relatively remote area with very limited public access in places. I covered this on a TikTok video as well about a year or so back. I mean, just look at it. Just it has the same tip removed, just like all the pyramids in Egypt, and you just see the angles are just perfect, perfect angles. This is kind of how it looks from street view on Google Maps. You can tell. I mean, that just stands out in the landscape, does it not? Okay. Yeah, fuzzy, chill a little bit on the language, folks. You know, it's one thing to disagree. Let's disagree in a polite manner with the chat. If you guys disagree with people in chat, that's fine. It's great to have a little spirited debate, but let's keep it civil with one another, okay? Okay. So, Lone Butte in Washington. Here's another one that's separate from Tum Tum Mountain as well. And you can see kind of the overlays between a couple other potential pyramid sites that align just like the Giza pyramids, just like the pyramids in the Grand Canyon. Um, this is kind of like the LiDAR map of the area as well. If you guys, one of the great things you can do is you can pull up LiDAR maps of your areas. I highly recommend doing that. If you guys have a site that you think might be a buried pyramid, might be some buried mounds, take a look at your local LiDARs. Like the USGS .gov has links to like LiDAR area maps in your areas. And I've seen a lot of people online recently come across some great discoveries in the area, in their local areas. So I encourage you guys to do it yourself. See, here's a visual of the mountain, and you can see kind of the angles, just like a pyramid, just like a pyramid. Here's another one here. Kind of leave that up. I can post that on my Telegram and Discord as well for you guys. This kind of shows you some of the layouts of the pyramid site, the same alignment to Orion, etc. And I mean, here's a good visual of Tum Tum Mountain. This is down here at the bottom. This was the pyramid sites in Mexico before they were unburied. They look almost identical to Tum Tum Mountain. And that's what a lot of these pyramid sites, especially in China, look like. China goes through great lengths not only to keep them buried, but to obscure them further by adding more mounds of dirt, planting dozens and dozens of trees on top of them. So, in a few generations, those trees will grow out and nobody will be able to notice the obvious pyramids anymore. But if you look on like Google and some satellite images, you can see dozens of pyramids in China. We'll get to that in like the second and third episode. Uh, Here's another one. Just look at the perfect 30-degree angles. This is another view from the street view of Tum Tum Mountain. It just looks perfectly like a pyramid. And like I said, this is just one example of many possible covered pyramids in the Pacific Northwest. I wish I could get to all of them in one episode. That's partially why we're having this three-part series to show you as much of them as I can. And even with these episodes, I still don't think we're going to cover near as much as that's out there. So, uh, moving on here from Tum Tum Mountain, another one, there's not too much visuals on it, is the Alaska Dark Pyramid. So, this is one of the wilder stories of hidden pyramids in North America. The According to legend, in the early 1990s, a seismic survey picked up a massive, perfectly formed black pyramid buried deep underground in Alaska. Some versions say it's a larger it's larger than the Giza pyramid, and the story goes that the military immediately moved in, classified the entire area, and has kept it locked down ever since. The pyramid supposedly sits right in the heart of the Alaska Triangle. The same plains, and if you guys aren't familiar with the Alaskan Triangle, it's basically like the Bermuda Triangle. You know, it's an area where a lot of planes and stuff just suddenly go missing out of nowhere, very odd disappearances. It's the same area in Alaska. And that's right, supposedly, where this buried pyramid sits. The same place where all those planes vanish at an insane rate. Whether it's completely true or not, the story has persisted for decades and refuses to die. Of course, that area is a super remote area. Very little exploration can be done on that, and it's supposedly completely buried in the mountainside. Um, And yeah, like I've said, since the 1990s, when the reports first came out, the military has kept that area completely on lockdown ever since. So let me take here a couple more pictures for you guys to see before I get into my next segment. Bear with me. And yeah, keep dropping in chat your guys' local pyramids as well. I'd love to hear them. You're in Tacoma, Washington. Where did I see that from? Brenda, you said you're in Tacoma, Washington. That's not too far from Tum Tum Mountain, is it not? Have you ever seen that up close? Let me see. Sorry, guys, I'm just kind of getting some photos pulled up from next segment. The Alaska Dark, yeah, to be moving in multiple different directions at tens of millions of miles, different speeds, flying through everlasting space would be a lot more difficult than the creation. Yes. Many Indian mounds in the US are little pyramids. No, they absolutely are puppies. That's exactly right. And a lot of them have been either set aside as like parks, they keep them buried, so there's no like excavation works on them. They call them just earthen mounds or earthen works. And places like Ohio has some of the most. They have like, I believe, like I don't know, at one point they had like 2,000 supposed mound sites, and they destroyed deliberately so many of them to build parts of Cincinnati and Cleveland, according to the official narrative. So yeah, I do believe those mound sites, those Indian burial mounds, are absolutely pyramids, and they probably go a lot further down than we think. When we think of all the separate layers of all the many resets over this time, if you look at like the sites of the pyramids in Egypt, it looks very, very much like they go a lot deeper. Same with the pyramids in Mexico. Let me show you. And they just kind of get to a certain point and they stop excavation on them. Let me show you what like the pyramids in Mexico I'm talking about here so you guys could see. And I'll show you a couple other ones as well, or shots from ones in Egypt. Hang on, bear with me, guys. There we go. So yeah, this is at the pyramids in Mexico. You can see a whole different layer than what you are like pretty much the tourist area. And they kind of just have stopped excavation on that area. They don't go any further down really. And here's again, these are the Egyptian pyramids. And you see they go much further down than the false sandstone layer that you see. And this was how the pyramids in Mexico looked in 1892. So just covered in mud, barely noticeable. That's anything, like anything is there except for that way little tiny top layer right there. Here's another set of pyramids. This one's from a satellite balloon over China. Shows the exact same layout of the pyramids in Egypt, the Orion belt layout. We'll talk a little bit about the pyramids in China, upcoming episode. Another pyramid site in America, the it's Pyramid Lake in Upper California. Another site, you have Pyramid Peak, Pyramid Trail. This is Pyramid Lake. This was an early rendition of it published in a newspaper. And you can see very much a brick like structure, perfect pyramid formation. Here is what it looks like today. If I can skip ahead some of these, bear with me. They're out of order. Where are they? Did I pass them? Sorry, folks. Photos are a little bit out of order today. Uh, Hang on, folks. Okay, so Pyramid Lake and Pyramid in California, in Upper California here. Let me see where I did with those pictures. And then we'll move on to the next one. I just really want to show you what they look like today. Another obvious buried or melted structure, in my opinion. Oh boy, where did I put them? It's going to drive me nuts now, folks. Sorry about that. I know I saved them. Maybe I didn't. Okay, I guess that'll be another one that'll be in my Telegram and Discord after the show. Here's what I want to show you about the false limestone top of the Great Pyramids of Egypt, though. Let's see if I can pull that up for you guys. So this is how the Pyramids of Egypt look. And you can see just that whole cliff that it goes right off of into Cairo. It looks to me like the pyramids go a lot deeper. And you see some of the older photos I showed you of them as well before they were unburied fully. Same with like the Sphinx in Egypt. And supposedly they just found a whole nother Great Sphinx in Egypt as well as the massive underground chamber that they just found in Egypt. Here's another little peek of how much further down Egypt goes. Share my screen there. This is when they were originally excavating the Sphinx. Like, just look how all of these limestone bricks, like stones, several tons, stacked perfectly in its shape, all with no power tools, no cranes, just slave labor, they say. All right, here's some of those satellite images of the pyramids in China. We'll talk more about those in the next coming episodes there. What did they say? Stop the progress of the whole. Um, like stop the progress of the excavation of the whole underground. And are you talking about like the ones in Egypt? Oh, okay. I see. It was something I missed in chat. My bad, guys. And here's some of the pyramids in Bosnia we're going to be talking about also. Okay. So let's see here. What's the next one that we have on deck? So I want to talk a little bit more about John Wesley Powell's connection to all of this, especially in North America. Powell was the first white man to successfully navigate the entire Colorado River. Through the Grand Canyon, he later became the head of the USGS and the Smithsonian's Bureau of Ethnology. He is deeply connected to the Grand Canyon story, the Smithsonian's history of acquiring artifacts, and the later push to dam Western rivers, most of which the exact areas that he explored himself originally. The very areas he explored all end up getting flooded by massive dam projects of his doing, including one named literally Lake Powell after him. When you look at his role in exploration institutions and infrastructure, it starts to look like he was in a position to both discover and help bury certain truths. All these ancient cities that we've talked about in previous episodes, including all of these pyramids. The some of the other pyramids in North America, one really close to me, Rock Lake, Wisconsin. Multiple divers in Rock Lake, Wisconsin, in the lake there, have reported of actual stone pyramid structures deep in the middle of the lakes of Rock Lake, or deep in the sorry, it's a tongue twister, deep in the middle of the lake. They have done some independent work to try and further collaborate that, but of course, the government, and when you look on Google Earth or anything around Rock Lake, all you see is that nice cartoon blue lake cover. There's no actual satellite images over Rock Lake. But many divers, there's been like some independent, like little mini subs that have gone in there and tried to find it. But That's one near me I just kind of wanted to throw in there. A lot of people talk about Pikeville Pyramid in Kentucky. It's a giant pyramid shaped formation, they say was created during highway construction, but a lot of people point to that as a pyramid. And by what I've seen in my research of the Pikeville Pyramid, it's one of the famous American pyramids everybody talks about. What I could tell is it was, made during the construction of the highway. It sits like right off the exit of the highway on near Pikeville. But I personally think it was just, shape of road work mounds from the excavation of the highway. If somebody is in the local area of Pikeville and disagrees or have some pictures of it, it does look very strikingly like a pyramid, but everything I could tell is it's legit man-made in this time frame. Um, so let's take a quick minute sponsor break, and we'll jump back into some more pyramids around America and take some more of your questions as well. Hold tight. We will be back in just a moment. A quick shout out to this program's sponsor, Riverside. If these live shows sound smooth and clear, that's Riverside making it happen. Killer audio, zero hassle, and it works every time, even on long nights like tonight. I've tried a bunch. This is the one that actually delivers. Want to start your own podcast? You should totally do it. Make your voice heard. Grab my link in the bio or show notes. It's an affiliate link, helps support the show, costs you nothing. Thanks for listening. Now back to the mysteries. Alrighty, we are back. Okay, so let's take a few of your comments here from today's episode. I see here. I read that some golf courses were covered up, pyramids, tops of tartaria. Yes, that's a great statement, Kathy. A lot of golf courses, America in particularly, has a large amount of golf courses, like more than anywhere else by far per capita. And you add all of those golf courses and the amount of government owned land, National Park Service land, and there is a large amount of this country that truly isn't publicly owned or publicly accessible. Um, these golf courses, I believe, are a big site, and a lot of these nature preserves too. If you pull up your map, just browse around your areas, you'll find vast areas around your towns even that are sectioned off as nature preserves or wildlife sanctuaries. And those are great, don't get me wrong, but you add up just how much of this land is restricted and government owned, and that is exactly how they hide all this stuff. All these pyramids in China are all restricted government land owned. And that's why, they, don't allow any independent excavation work or any dis- exploration in general in that area because it's heavily restricted government owned land. One of the first golf courses in America was, we talked about this on a previous episode. It was in Florida. Oh gosh, can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it was like literally right on top of a star fort. And they were playing golf in the like late 1800s, just right on top of star fort. I think it was Augusta. Yeah, Augusta is one of like the area it was in here. Golf courses are in weird places in California. Yeah, absolutely, Bravo. I've showed you guys a little bit before. Let me see if I can pull it up quickly. But the Half Moon Bay in California, there's a big golf course, big private country club golf course area, and right off the cliffside, there is a huge buried, like Greek looking Romanesque column system there. and they say it was like a support system for some failed project they built. But if you take a look at it, it looks very obvious. Let me see. I do have it available for you guys. Let me just pull it up here because yeah, it ties right into that whole golf course thing. Right here. And this is in Half Moon Bay, California. Ritz Carlton. And a lot of it's kind of torn away now. You can look at those coordinates right there in Google Earth yourself. Highly recommend doing it. Look on the street view, like on the beach itself, and you can see like the column still to this day, though a lot of it is removed and taken away. They said it was like some failed project that they were working on, but who just leaves those pillars there, especially when it's a big hoity-toity country club like the Ritz Carlton? You don't just leave something like that, just an obscene eyesore. It was eroded away from the ocean after a while, and it was rediscovered, and they didn't know about it until people started pointing it out, and then they come up with the cover story afterwards. Let's see if I can pull it up on Google Earth for you guys now, actually, while we're talking about it. Because, yeah, you can still see it to this day if you look on the street views. Let me just share my screen here for you guys. There we go. Okay. So this is right off the coast, popular beach cove. And you look at the country club and you can kind of see it eroded away a little bit right there. There's the columns here, here, here. And you click the little street view guy and go back up here. And you can see some really good shots from street view of it. There you go. Let's look how old they look. This one looks very like just completely weathered and eroded away. I bet this whole beach area has stuff like that. You can see like that whole artificial line right here as well as you go through the coast. Just can get another good angle from it. I think this is a good shot. Yeah, you guys got to see how old and weathered those columns go. You can see like the top of it right here. They say it was some kind of project, but I could never find any photos or anything of said project, and it was just a failed project, and they decided to just leave the work there. So let me know what you guys think of that as well. I never liked that game of golf. Little hard balls around. It's fun playing in a sense. I played it a little bit in high school and stuff. It's fun. It's boring as hell to watch, but it's fun. It takes up a hell of a lot of water, poisons the heck out of the ground though. The chemicals and stuff that they put in those golf courses, that like the half-life of those chemicals long after the golf courses are dead and gone, the ground is poisoned and contaminated, which another reason I think so much of these golf courses exist. Even when the golf course goes belly up, it's been sprayed to hell for so many years with pesticides and herbicides and weed killers that nobody could use that land. They can't like make a park or a public park or something from an old golf course. It just sits pretty much abandoned. You can't even build housing on top of it because the you'll never pass a ground soil test or a you know a test for a soil test to be able to build anything on there. So it just sits abandoned. And I mean, those are large swaths of land, especially in regions like California, obvious Florida, up and down the East Coast. I mean, even in Wisconsin, like we have so much golf courses. It's one of the only things we have almost as much as bars in the state of Wisconsin. Yes, that's exactly right, and people living close to them are more prone to disease. Yeah, absolutely. I always worry about that. My father-in-law, my wife's dad, he's been a groundskeeper, heads groundskeeper at several golf courses, several, like, uh, country clubs around this area, and I always worry about his long-term health, just the amount of spraying and chemicals that they use on that golf course. Hey, thank you very much for the $20 donation, puppies. Appreciate you very much, very much. Yeah, it absolutely wrecks the land, Astro. Um, so let's take a few more questions and then we'll talk about a couple more pyramids in America. One of the videos, actually, I wanted to show you guys real quick. Not in America, but this one's in Brazil. It's just some locals in Brazil. It is translated. I won't play the sound because it's in Brazilian, but the quality, not the best, but what can you do? Kind of want to show you another potential pyramid site as well. House on puppy tax. The American nightmare. Yes, those golf courses really are. And I mean, what the land will do once golf is already being phased out of popularity more and more. Uh, Golf courses are going belly up every year. What are like those lands going to become? Like it'll be 50, 100 years before you can really safely have anything on them. That one looks very, very clear, like a pyramid right there. Not sure about the first one, but it's kind of a bad angle from where he's at. But yeah, if I find some more footage from these guys, because it seems like they keep hiking in that area, I will definitely share it with you. But that is in South America. Just another pyramid site around this hemisphere. This episode would kind of focus on this hemisphere specifically, and then we'll branch out worldwide in the next couple episodes. Also, Google Earth is so creepy. It is, well, it's made by the CIA. If you guys didn't know that about Google Earth, it's not something that was designed by Google or any independent labs. It was a program that was basically given to Google. So, of course, it's very much a creepy program. I don't like how they have access to so much people's personal information that just goes up there. Golf courses are Chernobyl 2.0, pretty much, pretty much. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Let's see where else. I pretty much covered every pyramid site that I was going to talk about today here, folks. So let's take the next half hour, kind of just talk about what you guys want to talk about. Anything from yesterday's episode or Tuesday's episode, my episode with JT, anything about pyramids or anything. We'll keep the chat open. I'll answer as much questions as I can for the last half hour, and then we'll wrap it up and talk about a couple things. That I didn't get to talk about with JT that I wanted to bring up. Um, let me see here. So I'm just going to read through the chat. The flat cameras. Oh yes, that's a great point, Nephilim Hunter. Flat cameras are just one of the recent programs that's been around for a few years now. The government has been rolling out everywhere. They are everywhere. Like I say, signs of the mud floods everywhere, folks. Flat cameras are everywhere too. In my local town of just a little over 10,000, I found several flat cameras. Uh, they're on like the borders of Michigan and Wisconsin, and they can track your movement. They don't even need your cell phone data or anything like that. They can track your movements. They save all that information to an AI cloud. They can track where or how you've been to places, how long you stay, so any of your activities can be carefully monitored. And it's just another form of government intrusion that has become more and more rampant since 2020. Well, really since the Patriot Act, but And of course, our elected officials have no plans on stopping that. Seems everyone's house is on Google Earth, can see our clotheslines, poles, even our cars and fences. Yeah, I like it because it's also I do like one thing about Google Earth is you have that kind of time capsule-esque effect to it. You can go back in time, so, passed on loved ones or something like that, you can see them in their house when they live there. That's kinda cool, but it is, again, very creepy and kind of evasive, especially if people have your information or if it's doxed or something like that and they want to find you. So let's see here. Take a few more of your questions. The data centers at White House. Oh, yes, the data centers. That's another thing. Talked a little bit about. Those things are not just what they say. They're not just data centers, right? I believe that's what they're using to roll out this whole mass surveillance program. These data centers are used to collect and store all of this information they have from like these flock cameras and stuff like that. This AI surveillance program that the government's rolling out is going to be really, really big. That's what all of these data centers are for. And they're going to raise our electricity rates. They're going to pollute our water systems, much like all of these golf courses are. And we have no say in them. I was reading about the data center owned by one of these what is it, the Shark Tank people or whatever, that Kevin O'Leary guy, I think it is. It's got like the biggest data center in Utah. It's supposed to be like 3 times bigger than the city of Manhattan. And it's going to take like twice as much of electricity as the city of Manhattan. And it sits in the middle of Utah. And oh, all these people that were on the local boards to approve these permits for this data center just so happen to own land that it was going to be built on and stuff like that. So they're going to make millions off of us. And, we're just going to have to pay higher utility bills and swim in polluted waterways and drink from the polluted waterways for the trouble. So these data centers are definitely, I mean, I'd say keep an eye on your local areas, protest at your local boards, try and stop them, but our officials are just running them through regardless of what input we have. Nobody wants these in their backyards. Nobody. And it doesn't matter. It's far from a constitutional republic, a democratically elected system. It's whatever the elites want. That's what they get. Dystopian Orwellian world loading. Absolutely. I mean, 1984 was not a work of fiction. It was a warning. And it's a warning we all ignored, folks. They are actually applying to get micronuclear reactors to power the sites. Hitachi, Westinghouse, and even Bill Gates' company makes them. Yeah. And it's funny, all of the nuclear power fear, that was a big hoax in the 90s. Everybody was fear mongering nuclear power plants, so we couldn't use those as a source of renewable energy. So now all of a sudden, all of this whole green initiative, this whole environmental initiative, global warming, it's all dead now because of these data centers, right? I mean, they suddenly don't care about the environment anymore. They clearly made that known. What's inside the data centers? Just computers? It's basically a big giant server farm where all of these AIs that are popping up are going to be able to store, collaborate, and correlate data from. And they're just massive, massive, massive server farms essentially. But they draw so much power. Like if you like a little server farm, it takes so much power. I had one when I worked. There's one place in Rockford. There was one across the street, and it wasn't that big of a building, but they had to run the AC and they had to get like a whole separate like setup from the power company. They had to close down the street that this this server farm was on. This was just a little server farm, like a couple websites or whatever. They had shut down the whole street for like a couple hours to upgrade the transformers for the energy pole on it, and They were telling me they had to have, like, an industrial size AC unit put on the top of the roof, and they run the AC, like, 365 even in the winter time, and it like, the amount of energy they said their electric bill was, like, $1,000 a month. It's crazy, crazy. Look at Drew Dossier, the White House underground project. It's so scary. Yeah, it's not just a ballroom, folks. I That whole White House Correspondents' Dinner, whatever you guys think of Trump, look into that. That's very, very, a sketch like, I don't wanna say it's fake, um, but it seems pretty fake. How many times has, like, he's got the most assassination attempts out of any other president, and, like, every one of them are very, like, draped in scrutiny. Anybody that tries to investigate them are kicked out of the administration or chastised. We just have to blindly accept them no matter all of the glaring holes in the narrative they present. Um, and right after this White House Correspondents' shooting, where it was the, like, Secret Service that was shooting them at each other or something, just very sketchiness. But right afterwards, like, you have hundreds of these right-wing influencers on Twitter and stuff all say the same, "This is why we need a ballroom. This is why we need a ballroom." It's really, like, not, "Oh, hope the president and everybody's okay." It's, no, that's the first comment everybody says. All these big influencers on X and all of that stuff, the first comment they all say in lockstep in unison, pretty much word for word, is, "This is why we need a ballroom." That is a psyop, plain and simple. I'm getting dizzy. I hope you guys have a good night. Hey, hope you have a good night as well, Scott. Hope you have a good night as well. Thank you very much for tuning in. You'll put up some posts and videos about them, constant hum, the areas around them for miles gets warmer. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Like, the whole areas around those data centers, Michael, they get much warmer. Uh, it's a constant loud hum too that can be heard from very far away. And the light in the area too, from just the massive footprint of them, are like, it blinds the people that are right next to these data centers. Like, when they're trying to sleep at night, they have all these blinding lights all around it. Absolutely. Yeah, Butler, that's another one of those very interesting holes. This whole Charlie Kirk situation. So many holes, so much BS slop coming out from the official narrative pushers. And we're all supposed to blindly just accept it. Just accept what they tell us without question. And that's not how I like to work. Not how I like to work at all, folks. Let's see here. Take a couple more questions from you guys as well. They don't care about the citizens. If they really want one in a certain place, they will get it there. And too much money behind them. They aren't stopping to listen to the public anymore. Time for that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They really don't care about us anymore. I mean, they never really have. The government, they don't have our best interest at heart. Our local elected officials, our state officials, our federal officials, we send them to Washington, we send them to the state houses to enact change, and they all just get themselves richer with projects like these data centers that we never get a vote on. These never go to votes. And they're not just some innocent AI data center that people are using to ask for recipes or ask them to help create their resume. No, these guarantee, have no doubt that these are for this massive surveillance program that's been rolling out. I mean, look at places like the UK. The UK is a great little snapshot of what they want to do with the rest of the world. These 15-minute cities where, you can't go anywhere outside of that 15-minute range. You have your car monitors, mileage usage, all of that. It's a complete stage. Yeah, a world stage. Absolutely right, Jeff. Absolutely right. Do I think he's still alive, Charlie Kirk? I don't know. I hate commenting too much about it because when it first came out, I got in a big disagreement with a longtime friend of mine. He was a moderator on my Telegram page, and since then we haven't talked about it because it's amazing. Even people in the truth-seeking community, their biases and their truths, they they even us, we can quickly like just lock in to a mindset. It's same what I say if it's a globe or it's a flat earth. They want us like locked in and is it fake or is it not? I don't think he's alive. I think he was JFK'd, taken out. They couldn't primary him, so they took him out. And by that, I mean the same country the size of Rhode Island that has their hands in all of our politicians. Doesn't matter if you're on the right, doesn't matter if you're on the left. I don't talk too much about politics, but I will talk about the Kentucky primary, Republican primary race with Massey. I don't know if you guys have heard about that. That in this third district of Kentucky was the most expensive primary in US history, almost completely funded and bought by a foreign country. I don't care what country it is. I don't think any country should be allowed to buy our politicians, but they do. And that's just, I guess, another thing we don't have a say in. Definitely, you said, I'm not sure. They didn't off him for their agenda, though. Wife was definitely his handler, though. Yeah, she was definitely her handler. And that was, she was the big focal point of that White House Correspondents' Dinner. Aside from the first thing you guys hearing was build the ballroom. This is why we need the ballroom. The other first thing we heard was the whole Erica Kirk happening to walk by a camera recording at that time, saying, I just want to go home. Like, chick hasn't been home the whole time since her husband's is gone. Like, I've never seen her with her kids or anything like that. It's just, she was definitely his handler. I think he was a young, naive guy, very smart at, you know, powerful speaker, very smart. I think he could have easily been a president someday. Said some controversial things, but um, I think generally he was a very well-spoken guy who was going against the narrative, and they couldn't rein him in. And I think he was taken out. I don't think he was taken out by some random kid with a old hunting rifle. I mean, that just it reeks of Fed stop. They sacrificed their own. Don't forget, captain of the SS Olympic Titanic was 33. Yeah. And again, there was, Charlie Kirk's investigation was 33 hours, and they always have to get their 33s and their whole Masonic tributes in. Agreed. Um, I don't know if he was I don't think he was part of the whole main players. I think that's why he was taken out. I think he was one that was being manipulated by people like his handler, the widow Kirk, but I think he was taken out because he got off of the reservation on the things like going to wars for other countries, while our gas prices are almost $5 a gallon for no reason. In all honesty, you have never seen her kids, at least never their faces. Yeah, it's very weird, and I get they're in public life. I try not to, flash my kids around. I talk about my kids, but I mean, I'm nowhere near in the public light that she's in, but you try and have a little bit of privacy and stuff. So I kind of get the kids thing, but it is very odd. And then one of the whole things where she used an alibi for why she was at a place with a picture of kids that were not her kids. They were like 2 years older than her little, like, kids were. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, he's a very naive virgin. Yeah, I didn't hear about that until recently. Yeah, he was, he saved himself, till marriage. He was very devout in his faith and saved himself until marriage, until he met the right one, and those men are often sometimes the most naive. The smartest men are the most naive. Um, Robin Williams said it best. God gave us an incredible brain and a Peter beneath our legs. Unfortunately, only enough blood to power one at a time. I think that might have happened a little bit. He got swayed by the Arizona beauty queen, right? And the rest is sadly history. So let's see here. Take a few more of your questions. I like this. I wish I had more for this first episode, but I don't want to go too much into stuff from the second episode for tomorrow. So yeah, but I kind of like this kind of question and answer thing at the end here. The AI centers are needed due to the Genesis Act, due to tracking digital transactions, the stable coins that are being rushed in to replace the US flat money. Yeah, I've heard of that as well. It's all part of that whole digital currency, worldwide, one worldwide currency. That's also a biblical part of Revelations as well, folks. Um, yeah, it's all another layer, digital currency, digital ID, digital credit system. Like if you see what's happened in like what they have in China, they want to bring that to the US. They want to bring that to all the other countries in the West. Where if you jaywalk or if you litter or something like that, you're going to have a digital credit system, like a social credit system, sorry, a social credit system. And it's all going to impact your ability to get a job, to get an apartment, to get a lease, to get credit, anything like that. If you have a low social credit score, like you will be barred from pretty much participating in society. All just the layer of control that they'll continue to add on to us. The cabal designed the social credit system for China as a test before they bring it to the West. You're absolutely right, Michael. Like that's a little test system that they've been working on in China, and they are slowly rolling it out across the West. Don't doubt me on that one. It's evident. It's just more and more like we are not a free country. The illusion of freedom is what we have. China almost seems more free than us some days. China's a huge old dynasty with tons of unbroken history. Yes, and a lot of used history that they inherited and founded for themselves, like the Great Wall of China was actually the Great Wall of Tartaria. Yeah, if you look behind the curtain, you'll be docked. Yeah, that's true. Exactly right. Like people like us, conspiracy theorists, people that question the narrative. I don't like the word conspiracy theorists, right? I call us all investigative journalists, independent researchers. Conspiracy theorist was a term coined during the JFK assassination to make you not question the official narrative of the JFK assassination, coined by none other than our favorite three-letter organization, the CIA. So, yeah, that's exactly right, Floppy. If you look behind the curtain, you'll be docked. Your social credit system will be docked. If you question the state media, you'll be docked. There is a video of the French soccer team greeting Marcon and his wife. The reaction of the players when they saw his wife. Yeah, his that is not his wife. That is a man. That is a man. Brigitte. Brigitte. Yes, good old beautiful Brigitte. Definitely not a woman. Speaking of video, I wanted to show you guys one thing that somebody shared with us here in the Discord. It was from a video in Paris a few years ago of what appears to be one of those orbs. We've talked about that before, all those orbs in the sky, right? It appears to be an orb erasing a chemtrail. I have never seen anything like it. It was very interesting. So I wanted to share it with you guys as well. Let me just pull that up. Bear with me. Oh no, sounds like my little gal is waking up as well. Okay, so the link is to a video in Reddit, Orbs over Paris. Let me know what you guys think of this here. There's no audio, so okay. You can clearly see the orb right here in a chemtrail, contrail, whatever you want to label it as, contrail. Look what it does here, slowly but surely. Starts off slow and then it just ramps up. Look at that, just completely erasing parts of that chemtrail. Very, very interesting. We are conspiracy analysts. Yes, that is a great label. I like that. Puppies, I like that. And us conspiracy theorists are batting darn near 1,000 since COVID, right? Since 2020, we have been pretty much spot on with everything. We are pattern recognition experts. Yeah, I got tricked into waging a global war, and it's all fun and games until a few billion people are screaming at you. Yep. Well, folks, my little gal seems to be getting up and screaming here for daddy. So I think I'm going to wrap it a few minutes short tonight. So, just to kind of highlight over what my plan is for the next couple episodes here. The first episode, we kind of dug into some of the pyramids hidden in North America. Tomorrow, we'll take a lot of your questions during Open Lines Friday, but it'll be more on the hidden pyramids of North America as well. We'll talk about some of the underwater pyramids, like the ones in Bahama and the Cuba off of the Bermuda Triangle area. We'll talk about the pyramids in Antarctica, some pyramids in South America, the pyramids in Mexico as well. And then we'll move on in the third episode of this series to some of the pyramids across the world, some pyramids in Bosnia, China, Russia, Europe, like France, Italy, Greece, and Rome, just to name a few. And of course, we'll kind of dig heavy on your comments as well for tomorrow. Bring in some local evidence you guys have of pyramids in your area. I'd love to hear them, or just any local findings you guys have. This is a community, and this podcast is just as much yours as it is mine. And I love hearing what you guys find in your own areas, as well as suggestions that you guys have for the show, topics we haven't covered, topics you want us to cover more in depth on. I try and read all of the comments. If I don't get to them during the show, I read them after the show and try and respond to as much as I can. Sean, you said I saw an orb doing this in 2016. I was in a very strange place in my life, but I seriously saw exactly this. And then, Sean, it's no coincidence you probably saw something like this when you were at a particular spot in your life. I believe that we are manifestors in this world. Like we're act almost like as antennas, both receiving and sending out our manifestations. And in certain instances, in certain states of our mind, we can manifest these things to appear, these orbs. That's why I don't think they're little flying craft of little green men. So, yeah, and they come to you sometimes at my darkest period is when I've seen some of the most amazing sights in the sky from these orbs. They communicate with you if you ask, if you talk to them. Trust me. Kathy, thank you. Thank you as well, Kathy, and God bless to you as well. God bless to all you guys. I hope to see you all Friday tomorrow, 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for our Open Lines Friday and our second part of our three-part segment series on the hidden pyramids across our realm. Until next time, folks, question everything and have a great rest of your night. See you tomorrow. Oh, and Kathy, again, before I forget, I saw your says, well, thank you so much for your donation as well, Kathy. Sorry I missed that earlier and forgot to say something there. Thank you very much, Kathy. Have a great night, everybody. God bless. Question everything. Until next time.